This is John Coley with GrowingYourGreens.com. I have another exciting episode for you here in February, sitting in my front yard garden with my bed that's a quarter strawberries and 3/4 lettuce right behind. We've been having some amazing bright days here, and the sun's been shining. The weather's been a little bit colder at night and a little bit warmer and starting to rain a little bit. But my lettuce and everything else in my garden is growing really great. Today's going to be an episode like no other, and hopefully I'll get to do more of these in the future. What it is I'm going to answer your guys' questions, but not just anybody's question, Mike's questions. Mike actually sent me in a email over YouTube, said, "Hey John, I got a question for you, watch this video." So he posed this question in a video for me. So hopefully if this works out, I hope to do this more in the future, so just email me the video link over YouTube, and I may answer your question with my own video. So let's get started. So Mike, why don't you take it over?
Hi John, my name is Mike, and I have a couple of questions about, well, growing my greens. Now I probably could have just wrote you a message and sent it to you, but I figured since this is YouTube, I'd make a video. Now before I ask the questions, I figured I'd tell you a little bit of background. About 8 or 9 years ago, my dad was in really rough shape health-wise, and he went ahead and turned his whole life around, entirely changed the way he ate, lost over half his body weight, and over the last 8 or 9 years has really transformed his understanding of food and whatnot, and he's passed a lot of that on to me, and I'm trying to follow in his footsteps. I have a little ways to go yet, but today he pretty much eats almost an all vegetable diet, and vegetables and fruits, and really healthy, works out, exercises, walks, he can actually outpace me a lot of the time. So it's really been pretty inspirational to see, and he's really learned a lot about food in the last 8 or 9 years and transferred a lot of that to me.
Wow, Mike, I think it's great that your dad has made some positive shifts, as everybody's learning, and people that I teach is learning, that the majority of our diet, in my opinion, should be fresh fruits and fresh vegetables, which are nature's food, and more importantly, these are foods we could actually and easily grow ourselves all times of the year. Nonetheless, I'm positive that you can do it too. It's about making the proper food choices, and when you have a lot of food growing outside your front door, guess what? It's really easy and convenient to eat more of the stuff that's good for you, and harder because now you got to go out to the McDonald's and go pay and buy the stuff when you got all this free delicious food growing literally in your front yard. Well, let's continue.
One of the things that's real important to him, though, is organic, and buying organic and staying free from chemicals in everything, right down to the water. One of the big problems is where we live. We live way up north in northern Michigan, actually right on the border with Wisconsin. So if you think just way up northern Wisconsin, about 3 hours north of Green Bay is where we live, in a pretty small town. But because we live in such a small town, finding organic fruits and vegetables is quite a challenge. We have a Walmart, a large chain supermarket, and that's it pretty much in terms of shopping. We do have one small sort of a health food store, holistic food store, and they have a good variety of like on the shelf things like cereals and this type of thing that you won't find in a regular supermarket, but their produce is not great. And in fact, when it comes to things like lettuce, they actually carry the same stuff that the supermarket does. And only theirs is older because they're not moving it as much as the supermarket. So we're pretty much limited to just like the big brands, like I think my dad usually buys Earthbound Farms organic romaine lettuce for his salads. And I mean, it's good, but I often wonder. I prefer baby spinach for salads, and I buy Walmart has their house brand of organic baby spinach, and I wonder how long it's been since it's been picked before it finally makes it to the shelf at Walmart's or at the supermarket, way up here in northern Wisconsin / northern Michigan.
I've never really determined how long it takes from like baby spinach or baby lettuce mixes from field to store. I would probably guess in the neighborhood, probably gotta be maybe like a week, maybe 2 weeks at the most. It can't be much more than that, because then it starts to go downhill and starts to expire. So they're getting it to you pretty dang quick. What's happening probably is that it's getting picked, put on a truck, and then shipped across the country 5 days, maybe sits in a warehouse a day or two, and then gets to the store. So it's still fairly fresh, and I want to encourage you to always eat the freshest quality foods as possible. So if the Walmart organic stuff, the freshest you could get, great. But if you could grow it in your home, even better. So let's go on.
So, the nearest other, big city that would have a decent store is, several hours away. And of course, part of the problem too is where we live, the growing season is so short. I mean, you're looking at maybe, early May if you're trying to avoid frost until maybe mid to late September. So there's not a lot of, even in the summertime, there's not a lot of farmers markets or anything where we can find organic or locally grown foods. So my dad has never been into farming or gardening or anything like that. He's not really big in working outside and getting his hands dirty. And I've never done any gardening of my own either. And, in fact, you and probably a lot of your viewers would be aghast to know that if I live in a rural area, if I walk out my back door, I actually have, like, right out the back door, about an acre field, which is just grass that we mow. I don't even have, anything planned there, so I have plenty of room, and yet I don't do it. So maybe this summer, but anyways, for now, I thought this year, for my dad, I would get him into growing some stuff indoors. Like I said, we can't find organic. We have a hard time, and just the big names from the supermarket is all we can get. So I decided to set up something to start trying to grow indoors. And this is the little setup I came up with. It's about as cheap as I could possibly get because it's just a first experiment. I just got everything at Walmart, and we don't even have like a big, like a big box store like a Home Depot or anything like that. It's about 2.5 hours drive to get to one of those. So all this stuff came from Walmart. It was maybe like $50, I think, and it just consists of a couple of like cheap aluminum drip trays for an oven to catch water, a couple of Rubbermaid toads to actually hold the plants, which I don't even know if those are deep enough, a couple of just off-the-shelf Walmart grow lights, which were the most expensive item. I think those are about 17, 18 bucks. And then a timer, just a regular, like actually a Christmas light timer to control the lights. And then I just made this little 2x4 stand with the chains so that I can raise the lights up and down as needed depending on the height of the plants. So I actually made 2 of these, one for my house and one for his house, and I decided, we're going to try to get into growing our own greens. And actually that's the biggest goal of this whole project is to grow specifically salad greens because, I mean, those are things you eat quite a lot of quantity of. Eventually I'd like to maybe move into growing other stuff, all the other components for salads and vegetables and the stuff they eat in the diet, but salad greens are something you eat a lot of, and of course you want them to be organic. There's a lot of surface area, you don't want them to be sprayed, this type of thing, and when I buy them, half the time they're already starting to wilt, right when you get them. Anyway, they look like that box. A few videos ago you posted that box of organic vegetables you get. That's kind of how you get them. So yeah, I'm going to try to grow salad greens inside. So that's where my questions come in. But first of all, the goals with this is to grow salad greens that grow pretty fast. And I mean, it's not going to be about the decorations. It's really going to be about the yield. I mean, there's going to be a purpose behind this. I'd like to be able to harvest as much as possible. I watched some videos. I have no idea how much you can harvest off of, like say lettuce. I see people, they harvest some of the leaves and then leave the plant. It regrows and maybe every several days. I don't know, but we really don't need to get out of this much real estate, which is, probably 4 square feet or less. Obviously we don't need more than 1 salad worth of greens a day. That's probably going to be the maximum we'd ever need. Now I imagine that getting enough for 1 salad every day is probably a tall order. But every other day, every 3rd day, maybe every 4th day, I don't know, whatever. At least, if we can get enough for, a salad, maybe a couple of weeks out of it or something, that would be great. That's less that we have to buy at the store. So that's where my questions come in. What type of greens or what type of salad greens, what species of plants would work best in this sort of environment? It's indoors, something that grows fast, something that can survive multiple cuttings, and keep growing, because obviously there's going to be downtime when growing it from scratch, getting it to maturity. So something that can survive multiple harvests. And my dad usually prefers romaine lettuce. I like baby spinach. I know maybe those two won't work, but I'm open to anything, any type of lettuce, dandelions, whatever. So that's the first question. What would be some good species of salad greens basically to plant? I have no idea. Like I said, I've never done this before.
So that's a tall order you want to fill, like a plant you could grow indoors that grows really fast. You could continue to harvest and still be eaten like every day or every other day. So I don't know if that's going to be completely possible in your small 4 foot or 4 square foot area with your light box. Now I love that thing. That thing's cool. It could be useful for growing some things. But what I'm going to recommend is you maybe take a little bit different direction to make it sustainable and long lasting, so that you'll be able to actually grow some food and eat a salad of your own home greens every single day in the wintertime. Yes, that's right. You can grow greens easily in your house, in your kitchen, and eat them every single day and have enough probably for a salad. So what I'm going to recommend you do is, instead of thinking about growing lettuce like what's behind me, let me tell you, this lettuce here, that took just to get from the small start to this stage, it took at least a month. And I could go in there and harvest some of the leaves and I'll wipe it out in a day. So there's absolutely no way in a small amount of space you're going to be growing enough lettuce to eat for a salad. If you did want to invest a lot of money, and I know you may be on a budget, you could invest in a big hydroponic system with 100 little spots and all these lights and stuff, and put it in your garage or something, and have a elaborate setup, and you could grow lettuce because you'll just have so much quantity like I do in the bed behind me. But realistically, in a smaller amount of space inside, it's not going to be really super feasible. So what I'd recommend for you is to grow the green sprouts. So I don't just mean alfalfa sprouts, but of course you could grow those. Those are water grown sprouts, alfalfa, clover, mung bean sprouts, which are really easy to grow. You could buy the seeds online, they'll ship them to you, and then you could just grow them literally in water. And while they're good and probably better than eating wilty lettuces from the store, it's probably better, in my opinion, to grow some soil grown sprouts. So something like sunflower sprouts, definitely at the top of the list of something you should grow. Pea sprouts would be the next thing. You grow sprouts until they're this tall, you harvest them, clear cut them, and you eat them. And unfortunately, you may get a second growth, but I wouldn't even worry about it. I just go for, the production and just cut them once and then, grow a new tray. And besides that, you could grow things like buckwheat sprouts. And besides the green sprouts, like those 3 that I just mentioned, there's also many others, what's called microgreens. Now, microgreens may take a little bit longer to turn or to grow and then consume. So the sprouts that I just mentioned, depending on the temperature, the lighting, and all that stuff, they may go from planting to harvesting within 7 to 10 days. So, for example, if you start one tray today, and in a week or a week and a half from now, that's ready to harvest. But today you start one, tomorrow you start one, the following day you start one, right? So you see what I'm getting at? In 7 days, you're going to be harvesting one. In 8 days, you're going to be harvesting one. And every day, just start a new tray. So you're going to need a rack that's going to be fairly large with a bunch of trays. Now, they don't always need light on them. Only when they get, big and they put out their true leaves, then you'd really need to put some light on them. And they don't even need direct overhead light. They could do fine with some ambient light or even in a bright windowsill. Now you'll have to play with that a little bit. Now, besides the sunflower greens, the buckwheat, and the pea sprouts that are fairly common, you could grow a whole bunch of other microgreens. Now, what I would recommend is that you first grow sunflower greens first. It's absolutely the easiest. You could actually go down to your local Walmart and buy a big sack of the black oilseed sunflower seeds. Now, I would prefer if you got organic, but organic black oil sunflower seeds can be hard to find. So just go down to your local Walmart, make sure they're not treated, they're not oiled, they're not salted, and usually it's basically, they're sold as bird feed. It's super cheap, super inexpensive, and there's Walmarts all over that sell the black oilseed bird seed, and those are the seeds that you're going to use to grow and sprout to turn into your sunflower green. So I'd start with that. That's absolutely the easiest. Other than that, once you got that going and you have a system where you're able to start a trade today, harvest one in, 7 to 10 days, and you have that going rotational, and you got that up and running, so you're eating your sunflower greens like every day. Rotate in some buckwheat greens, rotate in some pea greens. Those are other ones that are really easy to grow that should mature in about the same amount of time. Once you get good at that, then move on to the more advanced stuff, which is microgreens, and that's where it's really going to get interesting. So I'm going to show you this right here. This is the catalog for Johnny's Select Seeds, and I'll be having my 2012 Seed Roundup episode really soon. But in their catalog here, they have a section of microgreens, for those that are interested. It's on page 66. I don't know if you can see that picture there, but all these little things are little baby sprouts, and these are what's called microgreens. So instead of letting a vegetable grow to full term like this, the microgreens are maybe like a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks old of growth, and they're little small baby tender, actually really delicious greens that you could grow that you don't need a lot of space to do. You could grow it in a standard nursery flat. So you're gonna grow all these things in a nursery flat, and this is what they look like. This is standard nursery flat, like at your Walmart nursery department. They may have, you know, these are how the plants are shipped, like in the 6-packs or in the single flowers. So when you buy a whole bunch of plants, you can just fill them up in here and carry it up to the check stand in this, and then they'll usually let you take this home and not charge you for it. Sometimes if you go to a nursery, you may have to buy these. Now it's better to get the ones that are more sealed off, but if you get the ones that have holes, that's quite fine. Just put some newspaper down, and when you fill it up with dirt, so that, you know, the dirt won't go through the holes in the bottom. Just put a single layer of newspaper, and the newspaper will compost down over time as well. So you're gonna grow these baby sprouts in this much dirt, so you don't really even need that much dirt, because the roots aren't gonna get too long, because once again, you're only harvesting the plants when they're about this big. They're gonna be baby plants. They're gonna be actually more nutritious and delicious than even the mature plants. But it's gonna be a little bit more labor intensive. You're gonna have to, like, you know, maybe water it once or twice a day, and, you know, start them up once a day. But once you get on a schedule and a rhythm and make it a habit, you know, to man your plants so that you can eat, it's definitely, you're going to be up and running. It's going to be only a good thing. So once you get up and running, some of the plants you could grow are Persian cress, tatsoi, Chinese cabbage, pak choi, arugula, beet green, sorrel, carrot. Yeah, that's carrot greens or carrot sprouts. Mustard, cress, mizuna, amaranth, shinguku, and that's edible chrysanthemum actually. Scallions, purslane, basil, cabbage, mizuna. There's so many different greens you could do. Now most of these are in the mustard or brassica family, because in general those are actually fast growers. So if you want to do lettuce microgreens, right, it's going to take a lot longer. So, you know, it's going to be a little bit more challenging to do. So I'd recommend, once again, start with the sunflower sprouts, then go to the buckwheat sprouts and the pea sprouts, and then go, this is like the advanced extra credit course. All right, so hopefully that will answer the question. Let's move on.
The second question would be, is there anything else I should do right off the bat? You probably answer this in your videos, and I'm going through your videos, but I only subscribed to you here just probably like a month ago, and you have quite a lot of videos, so I haven't gotten through them all yet. But I know you talk in a lot of videos about the rock dust, and then I've seen the nutrient tea that was being brewed in some, and I don't know, should I start right into those? Like I said, this is a trial run for kind of growing indoors and kind of gardening overall. So I'm trying to keep it pretty simple, and my dad's probably not going to be too involved. He'd probably do some watering and that's it, and when it comes to changing soils and adding nutrients and everything, that'll probably be up to me. So to get started, is there anything I should do right off the bat? Maybe get some rock dust and go there. For the soil, I don't have access to any type of compost, so just I just grab this Miracle-Gro. It says organic choice, and in fact, like I said, we only had Walmart was our only option for buying any of this stuff, and they only had 2 different bags of potting mix, so that was literally it. It's the middle of January. There's we just got 20 inches of snow in the last 36 hours. So no access to anything other than what I can get at Walmart in the bag. That's about it, so thanks. I look forward to hearing from you.
So as to your second question, what you should be doing is do the best you can. I don't want you to be concerned, oh, I got to get the organic potting soil at Walmart by the bag and it's $8. That stuff's crazy expensive. Get whatever you can afford, and for growing in the flats, pretty much you're gonna have to fill up these. And I mean, they're not a lot of square footage, so you want to get the best soil you can. If you could afford the, the organic stuff, fine. If you can't, get some of the organic to mix in with some of the regular stuff. But the most important thing is to get growing. So the base is what you'll need is the potting soil or the soil mix that you're gonna put. I would buy additional compost because you are in a rural area. That's a great resource right there. So there may be feed stores or farming stores in your area that supply the big boys, and they may be able to be a resource for, different things for you, including soil mixes and other things. So I'm not exactly sure what is in your area. Also, if you live in a big rural area and you've got a lot of property, you can do your own composting. So, find people with extra leaves and have them dump them on a big pile in your property. Have some local farmers that have horses or, cows and animals, and get their manures and compost that with the leaves on your property. Make huge piles, and that'll compost, while you're not even thinking about it. So you might have to start that out, obviously, in the summer, not when it's frozen outside. But you'll get a good pile going, and, for next winter, you'll have probably all your own soil, so you won't have to actually buy any. So this winter, you're probably gonna have to invest in some soil, but guess what? All the soil you take out of your trays once they're cut, you're then gonna compost that on your pile and let that basically compost break down, and then you could reuse that also next winter. So once again, growing the green sprouts is gonna take, depending on the climate and your situations, anywhere from 1 week to 10 days from planting to harvesting. If you want to get into the microgreens, they're going to take maybe like about 2 weeks, and some of them even take up to 30 days. So I would encourage you to stick to the ones that are more short term or short, easier to produce in a shorter amount of time. As to the rock dust, once you get up and running with all this stuff, then get the rock dust. Add the rock dust in later, because I don't want you to be like, oh, I can't get the rock dust, so I'm not going to start. I want you to start now, get your hands wet. You could always add the rock dust in later, and it'll probably be more beneficial if you do it later, because you'll be growing in all the regular stuff now, and then later on you'll add it. Then you'll be like, wow, things are growing faster, they're tastier, and I should have done that in the first place. But you know what? I just want to get you started, because rock dust, that could be a whole nother problem and, item to find and mail order, and it can get actually quite expensive. Another thing you can do is get ocean solution or ocean grown minerals, which actually might be a more viable solution growing in the flats you are. That comes in basically a 1 gallon jug. Actually, I have some over there. And you'll basically dilute that into the water that you're going to water your plants with, so then it also gets all the trace minerals. And that'll basically just improve the growth overall of the plants. And so pretty much that's how you do it. Once again, you're going to get some flats like this. You're probably going to have to get a different, like a wire rack or one of the cheap, plastic racks where you could fit a bunch of these on a shelf. And you're just going to grow for it and just start. And you're going to learn as you grow. You may mess up and there's going to be adjustments and corrections, but it's all a great fun learning process. And then one day you're going to be a master at this stuff, and you're going to be able to 5 minutes a day invest in starting seeding and watering, and then you could go off to do your other stuff that you want to do. And then you'll be having food, every single day of the year by growing your own stuff and own sprouts inside. So I know you might be thinking, John, that's great that you shared with me the things that I should grow and how to grow it exactly, but how exactly do you do it? Well, in my next episode that I'll be uploading, I'll be actually visiting a place called Got Sprouts, where we're going to teach you how to grow your own sunflower greens. So this is going to be really super uber cool. But before I go, I do want to encourage you, and anybody else that has like 1 acre or even a front yard like I do, you can grow a lot of food in your front yard. Think about how they did it 200 years ago, when they didn't have the Walmart to buy their organic produce at, right? And they live probably near where you live. There's old settlements in your area and all across this great country. And what did they do? Well, they grew their food in the summer, and they would grow certain crops that were good for storage. Now, we've gotten out of that as a culture. We've gotten into more of the growing stuff where it will and then shipping it. But there's many crops that you can grow in the summertime and store them in a root cellar or underground, and they'll keep for months. I mean, pumpkins and squashes, winter squashes are the prime example. I mean, last year I stored a Kakai pumpkin for, 6 months, and it was still good. So if you grow a lot of squashes, and squashes are easy to grow, once again, You just gotta like plant the seed and they'll just vine out and take over and grow all summer. Harvest them before it gets cold, bring them inside, store them in a cool garage or a storm cellar or wherever, and you'll have them for the full winter, and you could pop out, I don't know, one every few nights and eat your own fresh organic food. I mean, other things like certain varieties of cabbages and beets will also store really well. So, you know, that's another thing you really want to focus on, like get geared up for the springtime. I mean, you got an acre. I only wish I had an acre, you know, to grow a lot of food on. I would plant fruit trees, and that might be something else you could plant. There's fruit trees in your area. Grow some fruit trees. And, you know, you could harvest the fruit off those trees, can them, preserve them, or dry them, or freeze them so that you could also eat your own fruit in the wintertime. So getting back to how they used to do it 200 years ago, I think is a great idea on growing things to store. But also, in addition to that, we have new technologies they didn't have 200 years ago, like plastic. Plastic makes it possible. But nonetheless, there's another guy in Maine, and I know Maine might be a little bit colder than where you're at, and he grows all 4 seasons, even in the wintertime. So if he could do it in Maine, you could surely do it in whatever, Michigan or Wisconsin, wherever you're at. So you want to invest in the book that he writes. I think his name is Elliot Coleman, 4 Seasons Gardening or 4 Seasons Farming. And, you know, he has some amazing ideas once you get a system in place and set up to grow and emulate how he's doing it successfully. You'll also be able to grow year-round in your climate. So maybe you have to put up a hoop house or greenhouse or something like that, but it's totally possible. So your game plan is this. You're going to get some trays, get some compost, and get some black oil bird seed and start growing sunflower sprouts. And do that immediately. Don't delay, don't wait. Go out and do it today and just get started. Oh, you might have to wait for the next video, so it might be a day or two. But go out and get your potting soil and your black gold sunflower seeds so that when my video comes up, you can actually follow along and do it as we're talking about it in the video. So that's going to be really cool. And then, because, you know, springtime's almost here, you want to gear up and get your acre planted out, man. You got to plant it in something, whether it's winter squash that you could store for next year and start growing some summer stuff, you know, so that you can be eating healthier in this upcoming 2012. I know you could do it, and I'm here to help. I have almost 600 videos now with all kinds of information, so feel free on those and feel free to, you know, give me new questions every now and then. So hopefully this has answered your questions, Mike. I hope I have been of some assistance to you, but also to all my other viewers that may be having a similar challenge to you that wants to grow food during the winter, and the green sprouts and flats are the definitely way I believe you should be doing it. So once again, my name is John Kohler with GrowingYourGreens.com. We'll see you next time, and keep on growing.